What's up, everybody? It's me, your boy, the one and only Jodeci Dion, coming to you again. While I wait for my stepson to get out of college, out from the side of my neck short. Last week was busy, man, and a lot of things been going on, so I didn't get the opportunity to basically do videos on subjects that were happening real time. And so now I'm kind of just doing my recap thoughts on everything that's happened the past week or so. First, let's talk a little bit about the Nintendo financial report that happened last week, where we got to see the sales for the first 6 or 7 months of the Nintendo Switch 2, and all the games that went with it. Overall, you know, excellent, great numbers for the Switch 2 as a hardware, as a console. The attachment rate, thanks to being a pack-in, but also a individual game you can buy standalone. Mario Kart World is definitely pushing the hardware. Excuse me. It definitely is the system seller for the hardware. Then you have almost 5 million for Donkey Kong Bonanza, a in a way sleeper IP, a sleeper game. It's not the 3D Mario everybody was expecting, but I definitely believe it holds its place. It's worthy of being a launch title release that helped push the hardware, and we're seeing that it's doing good, solid numbers. You're already at almost 5 million in the first 7 months, and we just found out that Super Mario Odyssey has hit 30 million after what 8 to 9 years. So it's on pace to sell great numbers throughout the lifespan of Switch 2. I'm thinking for sure it can easily clear 10 million, which should be the goal for it. But anything over that, just gravy. Then you had Kirby Air Riders that was like over 1.5 million. Very solid for a game that was basically on the GameCube, underground, game that only certain people play. Hell, I bought every Nintendo console, and even I don't own the original Kirby Air Ride on GameCube. I didn't buy it. I didn't think I was be. I didn't feel like I was gonna be interested in it. So that's good numbers for that. The surprising thing, well, I won't say surprising thing, but as you notice, it's sold more in Japan than it has in the West. So Japan's definitely, they're definitely fucking with the Kirby game, mainly because they is a skill based game, and as you know, they don't shy away from skill. They don't shy away from challenge. They don't shy away from pushing the envelope when it comes to gameplay and just mechanics and how you play games. So it's not surprising that they are the ones who are really about that game. Even the videos you see on the game and the content from the game on Twitter and on YouTube is coming from Japanese players. When it's skill based, always go with the source. Always go with the culture. The West has proven every generation since the old days that we're just not about skill no more. We're not about playing games and trying to figure them out and try to really break them down. Only a small select few people are like that. The speed runners, those kind of people. But overall, the overall gamer, they're just playing stuff just to play stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's about just passing time, and this is what I'm doing at the time. If anything that was kind of disheartening when it came to the financial report was probably the Metroid Prime 4 Beyond numbers. Supposedly, according later, the information later on we got from the report, that combined on Switch 1 and Switch 2, they did sell probably about 1 million copies of that game. But if you remember, just all the anticipation, the hype, everything that went along with that game when they announced it years ago, and how people act like they couldn't live without it being released, and now to finally have it released and they didn't go out in droves and buy it, once again says a lot of things. Says one, two, Twitter's not a real place. When you see people talking about what they want and what they desire, 9 times out of 10, they can't back it up with their wallet. Two, uh, the Metroid Prime base is nowhere near as big as they want to act like it is. You know what I'm saying? Once again, we want Metroid Prime 4, we want Metroid Prime, and where were they at? You know, Three, and probably one of the bigger issues with the game being released, Nintendo dropped the ball by one, announcing it, so early on, and then two, releasing it on Switch 1. They should have went ahead and just took the backlash, just dealt with the fans being pissed off, and they should have pushed it straight to Switch 2 only. Made it exclusive to Switch 2. Make it you have to buy that console to play that game type experience. Because, one, I know they felt like they were obligated to put it on Switch 1 because they announced it on Switch 1 so many years ago. But I think putting it on Switch 1 really hurt the game, mainly because it opened it up to piracy. As you know, the Switch 1 is hacked, it's broken down. You can definitely get homebrew on it and do all kind of cool stuff. And so, without a shadow of a doubt, I bet that a lot of the people who would have bought it didn't buy it because they bootlegged it. They pirated it, you know what I'm saying? I don't have the exact numbers, but I definitely feel like that's after having a little discussion I had with one of my boys, Okashira, that's definitely a possibility what happened with the sales of that game. With it being on Switch 1, it opened up to piracy, especially your PC gamers, and they downloaded it and they're playing on their PC, all modified and everything. So that really hurt that game. And then probably 4, maybe the idea that the first-person experience is not what it used to be. I mean, look at first-person shooters overall in general. Even your high, your full multiplayer experiences are not selling like they used to. Call of Duty is not selling like how it used to sell. Battlefield is not selling how it used to sell. And mind you, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a first-person adventure game. It's basically it's part of the line that Metroid Prime ushered in generations ago. And there's no multiplayer aspect to it. There's no kind of a online feature to it. It's just a straight up first-person adventure. Think about this: how many of those games are still popular right now? You know what I'm saying? This is not the heyday of Metroid Prime. This is not the heyday of games like BioShock. Those kind of experiences. People are not really playing those games like that anymore. So, is there really an audience for those type of games now in this current environment? So a lot of factors came into it, I think, that affected the possibility of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond being successful. But those are my thoughts on that. Next, we have the Nintendo Partner Direct that he showed. With that, overall, it's one of those things. It's kind of hard to judge those kind of directs. Well, any kind of direct is kind of hard to judge because basically, for me, I judge based on show me something I wasn't expecting. If it's already known about, we already have information on it, it's null and void. It don't really matter. So give me some content, show me some stuff that I wasn't sure it was coming, and I'll judge it off of that. And if I go off of that, then I'm gonna give it a solid B, because we got a lot of games, we got a lot of announcements for games that I was expecting to eventually show up on Switch 2, and they finally just pushed it out there. And for me, this whole Nintendo Direct showcase was more part of the showcase was more about the Nintendo Switch 2 catching up. Basically showing you where they're currently at, where they plan to go, catching up to the current other consoles, PS5 and Xbox, showing we're gonna have similar software across the board, and then from there, anything afterwards is going to be new stuff. It's going to be new stuff, and it's going to be stuff that you're going to see on their consoles too. So basically, they're now within the same range. And what I mean is, what's on PS5 and Xbox is going to be on Switch 2, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So you're not going to see one game without being a Switch 2 version. So I feel like that Partner Direct was more about this, just showing that it's catching up. Getting a lot of these older games that should have been already out on Switch 2 or could have been on Switch 1, but they couldn't make them. They're now on Switch 2. We got them out there. They're coming. Here they are. And so anything coming out later on, the second part of the year, that's going to be brand new stuff that we have that has been announced with PS5 and has been announced on Switch 2. And we'll see the announcements made across the board when it comes to the future games. But see, that's also funny because now, recently, this morning, Sony announced a state of play. And this goes into the situation Switch 2's in now, in my opinion. They're now in a cat and mouse game with the other consoles. And before, it was basically what they were doing and what Nintendo was doing. But now that they have this, they basically have the same games across the board on both both platforms. You know, it's not gonna be about, okay, who's getting the game first, or who's really getting what game. And with Nintendo doing that partner showcase and showing if it's on PS5, you know, or if it's on PS5 or it's been on PS5, we now have it. Now Sony's gonna come back with their state of play, you know, which is like an hour long, I believe. They're gonna try to show you games that have been announced on Switch 2, but that will be on PS5 this coming year. And I think they're gonna try to, you know, definitely show a lot of third party stuff, and basically get the illusion of, well, hey, we're gonna have these new games. There's no Switch 2 version announced yet, so we're still the place to play games. And so when Nintendo do their next direct, which will probably be, you know, besides a first party one, they'll probably do a you know, a June a E3 one in June. That'd be the one, besides showing the major first parties, it show the other, you know, third party stuff that hasn't been announced yet, that they've been working on across the board. And this is going to go on throughout the generation until the eventual announcement and release of PS6 and probably the next Xbox or whatever it is, where then that gap is going to be widened again. And we'll start wondering, okay, can these games appear on the Switch 2, you know? And if we do, what the quality is going to be. But I think we're a couple years off from that. So, you know, expect this tit for tat thing happen between Nintendo and other guys. They're going to all be showing you, hey, well, so-and-so's coming out on PS5. And they'll leave the question to the gamers. Well, will there be a Switch 2 version? Back in the days, there was never no doubt it wasn't going to be on Switch 1, because just, you know, the power and the developers weren't really messing with the Switch 1 like that overall. But now, when you see a game announced for Xbox and PS5, gamers will now start having this whole idea of, is there a Switch 2 version? I'm going to wait for the announcement of Switch 2. You know, there's something to think about. Overall, I think that's kind of all I want to touch on right now, man. I mean, there's more things happening. You know, there was a Tomodachi Life direct, which I was totally into. Can't wait for that game to come out. I say this all the time. If you're a real Nintendo fan and you watch the Nintendo Directs, no matter what they are, always watch the Japanese version. That's the real version. The pacing, the organization, how they place the games, how they in the videos, and the games they show, it really shows you what the Nintendo Switch is about. Because the games they showcased on the Japanese version compared to the American version, while they were the same games, their placement and the time they spent on certain games compared to the American version, the Western version, is night and day. You know, the Japanese version really focused on those Japanese RPGs. You guys see a lot of footage of those games that they announced on the Western side, but you got to see more footage of them across the board on the Japanese version. You know what I'm saying? And the games they gave shine to compared to what they did on the Western side, where on the Western side they ended with the Western games by Oblivion, all that kind of stuff. The Japanese side, they ended with Resident Evil Requiem. You know what I'm saying? And just like I said, the pace and just the overall presentation is always better on the Japanese side. So focus on that. You know, I know you want to watch the Western version because it's in English, and they're going to show the games in English, but the Japanese version is the real Nintendo Direct. That's the real version. Always. Well, all right, people. Till something else happens, till next time, this is your boy, the one and only Jodeci Dion, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.